Horror Lies.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, your regular Wednesday evening host here at Body Bags. It is the beginning of August. It is a random, of course. It is week 563. I bring you Francis Ford Coppola's film debut with a Roger Corman produced film entitled initially just Dementia. But since there was another film, you know, Roger Corman, being as brilliant as he is, wanted to add 13 on just to differentiate the film from the other and also tie it in a very cool way to the structure of the story. And so Coppola was fine with it. In fact, I think a little bit of the story was that Coppola was helping him on a film and had earned his place well enough favor in the eyes of the great Roger Corman, who unfortunately, of course, just recently passed away. Earned enough favor with him that he had this film that he wanted to do, and Roger was like, just use my sets and we'll give you a little bit of the change that's left over from this production, and I'll be your producer, and we'll see what happens. And what happens? Oh my Lord, how have I not wandered into this sooner? This reminds me of wandering into Spider Baby for the first time, cold, and just being blown away. This movie blew me away. I watched it once via my 50 horror classics, which I recommend if you're at the beginning and wanting to build a collection. This is a great way to do it. If you're looking for transfer quality, you're not going to get it necessarily with this, but what you are going to get is some gems in the heap. And one of those gems, of course, being Dementia 13 in here. And that's not the only Roger Corman produced film. Very rarely do I have a reason to pull this off, but as I do this, I'm weeks back in time and trying to get ahead because August is a really busy month. But we have a Roger Corman show via Body Bags coming this Friday. It's Tuesday today. And so it's been Roger Corman week in my house. And so I'm trying to get my list together, top 5 Roger Corman produced films, which has long since dropped by the time you're watching this. And so I'm trying to get this list together, and I'm going through the IMDb list of all the produced films, I'm being blown away. I want to say it's like 491 or something like that. It's crazy how many films that's just producing, not directing and everything else. Which, by the way, did you know that Roger Corman was a detective in Silence of the Lambs? Can't remember I think he's credited. Yeah, he's credited for that role. That's not the only one that's lurking in the shadows of that film. But anyways, Roger Corman. So as I'm going through the list, I see Dementia 13. It's a title I've seen before, but I've always kept it at arm's length for whatever reason. And I thought, look at it a little more and realize it's a Francis Ford Coppola film, his directorial debut. And so I'm like, I wonder if it's in, because, I don't like doing reviews unless I can hold something up. And so I went and looked, of course, on the long, if you want to pause it, you can see all the movies that are on there. Hopefully the glare is not really in your way. Maybe that's better right there. So I'm going through the list and I see Dementia 13. I will pop this bad boy in. Let's check it out. This thing blew me away. I cannot stress how good of a movie this is. It is currently streaming on Prime for free if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber. But also, as I think I alluded to earlier, Vestron has since put it out about $16, which is definitely on my radar now. Love to just continue to build on my small Vestron collection. And Film Detective has put out, and I would imagine this, I have a couple of those titles in my collection. They do a good job. I will say this, the transfer on Amazon Prime was a huge jump from this. But if you can work past the transfer quality, in some cases worse than other cases, it is a great way to just toss 50 movies into your collection. And a lot of the old classics, Nightmare Castle, Night of the Living Dead, Phantom of the Opera, the old stuff, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, all the original stuff, old stuff. White Zombie is in here. Anyways, so it blew me away. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do this review. I've got to do it for, no one's reviewed it for Body Bags. And I'm going to do it for week 1 of August. And I mean, this is one of those movies. I feel pretty confident that it's probably escaped many who may be watching this review. So I'm gonna walk gently in terms of plot structure and keep spoilers arm length distance. But it's got a curious, almost weird beginning. And I'll just kind of give you the setup and then just sort of lay some things out there a little bit. But I don't think I want to give the whole thing away. So you're introduced initially to John and Louise, newly married. She has not had a chance to really meet the family who lives in Ireland, I think maybe Dublin, in a castle. So this movie kind of sits really between the old Gothic films of the past and the slashers that are just coming around the corner. It's almost a perfect middle of those two worlds. And so you meet them out on the dock late at night, and John is wanting to go for a row. And of course, she, begrudgingly joins him. And as they go out there, they're having this conversation about his family and the inheritance, her place in it, which you come to find out she has definitely got some ulterior motives going on. And and he sort of starts joking as he's rowing. Of course, middle of the night out on a lake, right? Or maybe it's an overlarged pond. He starts joking about the idea that, well, if he happens to die before Mom does, she's out of luck, man, because she's going to be a complete stranger to the family. This does not sit well with her. But a fascinating, intriguing thing happens. He suddenly goes into cardiac arrest, has a heart attack, and of course, as she's fumbling through his coat looking for the bottle of his pills that he needs, come to find out the bottle's empty. Now, nothing is really said much of this later. And it does beg, once you've seen it twice, it does beg some questions as to why he left the bottle empty. Anyways, so she's struggling frantically to try to get, to shore. But he dies. She doesn't know what to do. And so in a fit of frustration and panic, she basically ties the anchor to him and basically just tosses him overboard with the thought in mind that, and it's almost like Psycho-ish type way. What is Psycho? Psycho was 60, right? So this is 63. So it almost feels like Coppola was playing off that a little bit, because you get some narration and the setup with her that really does feel like Psycho, if I got the year right. And so she dumps him over, man, and he just goes down. And she throws the radio, which was playing this really irritating music she did not like. She throws it. It's a really haunting visual of him just resting on the bottom with the radio still playing the music all the way down to him. And that begins this move towards, you're never quite sure if the supernatural's at work or if we're just grounded, on the earthly, this terrestrial globe. There are earthly, more human things at work here, sinister things at work. But you get to find out real fast. She gets home and she quickly types up a letter, which is going to be from John to Mom, just telling him that he has since received an urgent wire from New York. He's got to fly out, or in this case, train, I'm sure. Maybe it could have been a plane. It could have been a plane, yeah. Fly to New York on urgent business. Now, this means he's going to miss a memorial, which happens every year at the same time on the memory of a loss, on Mom's lost daughter who, terrible accident involving drowning. And so really, she puts this plan into effect in order to keep his death at real arm's length and try to stay on with the family, get to know them, earn favor with the mom in hopes that she can lock herself into the will. And I'm telling you, she is devious, man. And when you start to realize the plan that she is concocting, you really, it's just twisted, man. She is twisted. Now, I'm getting close to where I'm just going to stop. All I'll say is, she doesn't know this family or the history of the family. And it's almost kind of like a wandering fly who seems to have about as great of a grip on the world as any fly could, suddenly finds itself stuck on a spider web with a lot of moving pieces, and you really don't know what's afoot. Although on second watch, it's pretty obvious there's some foreshadowing going on here and there and there. But there she struggles on the spider web, thinking she is going to be the great manipulator of sorts. But there is one who is going to be perhaps the great manipulator. I think that's pretty much where I want to stop. I kind of want to just talk about the whole thing, but I'm really going to hope and rest on the idea that this one has not been seen much, and it really needs to. If you're a fan of the old Gothic castles, secret passageways, that just atmospheric, like I said, the runtime's only an hour and 15 minutes. And those pseudo slashers that seem to predate what we naturally would take as a slasher film. This has some great, startling imagery, which unfortunately, the better the transfer, I wonder if some of it wouldn't be hurt in terms of maybe catching a reveal earlier than you ought to, just as a result of the film being too cleaned up, if you know what I mean. So there's sort of that going on, but there's some great imagery. I'll just leave it I'll just drop this little nugget. There is one who is, let's just say, is in the midst of about to run amok with an axe, and some of the imagery, man, in the attack sequence are for 1963. I was pretty blown away by it. This movie has quickly, leapt out of the darkness into the very forefront of my existence as a collector, and happy to know that Vestron has put it out in Film Detective. I don't know which one. I'll probably get the Vestron just to build on and I'm sure there's plenty of extras, which would be neat to have it like a historian commentary track on there. But until then, I probably won't go back into this to watch it. I will probably, the only problem with Amazon Prime is I think freebie is how I watched it, via freebie with the commercials. And I'm telling you what, man, one of the reasons I don't stream hardly any more at all, I just hate commercials. I was tolerating it because the transfer quality was that much more lifted up. It was at points maybe a little too good, but now I'm watching it with my boy who's fairly well into it, and I know we're about a minute and a half away from the great reveal. Everything's just going to be laid out. Commercial break. I'm like, are you freaking serious? Like, we're this close, and now I gotta wait 2 full minutes of commercials to watch it revealed yet again. And with kids, these days it's he hung on his interest level, thankfully, but I could see where, as a young one, interest level could just drop off the cliff, man. You're close, and then boom, you got a 2-minute commercial break to deal with. So that was extremely frustrating to have to deal with. But if that's your way of seeing it, it's definitely worth, even with that, just know that probably if it's the same for you as it was for me, just be prepared that as you're about to get it, don't be surprised if you get hit with a commercial break. I say this movie is well worth the $16 purchase on Vestron. I can't remember what the price on Film Detective was. I'm going to just real quick before I get out of here. I think I already said everything. I pretty much I want to say it's a great cast, man. It's a great cast, and it's one of those casts that you would not mind getting to know more about. Richard is these are the brothers. Richard, I think, is the he might be the eldest of the bunch. Is about to get wedded with Kane, who she has not earned favor with mom at all. You got John, of course, who I've already introduced you to, who plays the major part in the beginning, and his wife Louise. But then you've got Billy, you've got of course the daughter, a family doctor, of course Lady Haloran. It's the Haloran estate, the Haloran family. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. This movie, eventually, like I said, in either of those two formats, it'll be on my shelf at some point, and I can't stress this movie enough if you have not seen it. Definitely well worth. I'll probably talk more about it at length on the podcast show that we're going to be doing, which would have already had dropped. And I'm just having fun. Roger Corman week in my house. I'm having fun. I watched Attack of the was it the Attack of the Giant Crabs, something like that. Was there The Raven? I watched The Raven the other day in its full length. And so it's just Roger Corman week, right? Just building up to that Friday evening when we all get together and do our thing. So anyways, I'll leave it at there. Check it out. Can't stress it enough. As always, we leave these things off with Go Bills.